Resident Evil 9 is rumored to be going open world. I do not believe for a second that Resident Evil 9 is going to be open world in the way that we know open world to be. You're not going to be driving cars, you're not going to be stealing stuff, you're not going to be robbing banks. This isn't Grand Theft Auto, this is Resident Evil. And Resident Evil is a survival horror game. At least that's what they tell you it is. But the point of it is that it's a horror game, and this kind of idea has been done before. This isn't something new. This isn't something Resident Evil will be trying to do inside the genre and doing it first. It's not unique. The first game that comes to mind when I think of this is Evil Within 2. And Evil Within 2 was not open world. I hate when people called open world Evil Within 2 open world. It just isn't. It's like open zone. You've got these big open areas, because if we're going to start calling Evil Within 2 open world, we're going to have to start calling Silent Hill 2 open world. Just because you can run around a big map, the town of Silent Hill, doesn't mean it's open world. You still have like a place to be. Now, do I think these rumors are completely like fake? Like, as in, it's not gonna be like that? No, I don't. I think there's some credit here. I think there's some truth to it. The reason I say that is because Resident Evil Village and Resident Evil 4 Remake are both games that are the most recent in Resident Evil, and both share the same DNA, and that is pushing towards bigger areas, hub kind of areas where they're designed to be explored. You find treasures, you upgrade things, hell, you even have side missions. Now, if that doesn't follow some kind of formula that open world brings to the table, I don't know what to tell you. But I'm not against the idea, as long as we don't go too crazy with how large the map is, because the bigger the map, the less focus you have. And once you start going down that road where, you know, like, it's kind of like these big, giant open areas, and there's not enough corridors, things aren't claustrophobic, you kind of lose a lot of a horror atmosphere. Because, like, for example, Evil Within 2's got these big areas. Inside these big areas is houses you can go in, and once you're in the houses, that's where the horror is, that's where the claustrophobic areas are, and the kind of like linear level design is. But when you're in the map area, you're just kind of like avoiding enemies and running around the outskirts of the map just to avoid things, and it kind of loses a little bit of that horror feel it does. I can see why a lot of people don't like Evil Within 2 doing that, and it's Resident Evil's really gonna have to figure out how to keep the atmosphere intact without ruining things and just going too big a map design, because like I said, Village and 4 Remake have already done this and it worked. It really did work. I really like this design, but I don't know if I like it in those games and it's like the peak of that kind of design and you can't go bigger with it. I guess we're going to find out, because it really does sound like Resident Evil 9 is going to be open world. Now, we don't know anything else about Resident Evil 9 at the minute, and I don't want to say that it's open world. Let's go with open zone. Let's go with big hub areas that we explore, because Resident Evil's always been kind of a big hub area in the first place. The problem with that was you were stuck inside of like an isolated area. It was like a mansion or the police station, and then you kind of used that as the hub area. Obviously, Village has the village, and Resident Evil 4 has the village, the castle, and the island, and all three of those are separate hub areas with their own collectibles, with their own side missions, with their own big areas that you've got to explore. So, is Resident Evil 9 gonna be like those three areas combined into one bigger area and just... I feel like that would be too much. But I mean, I'm not Capcom, it's not me developing the game. Maybe they know what they're doing, because the rumor is that Dragon's Dogma 2 was to push the Resident Evil engine in a certain direction to see if it could handle open world. And plus, that game's got a lot of technical issues, which I really don't like the sound of. If we go in this kind of direction where we try to make the areas bigger, is Resident Evil 9 going to have all these technical issues? I really hope not. I really hope it's not a sign that Resident Evil 9 is going to be a bit of a technical mess, because that could be just as bad as fumbling the idea of being open world. But yeah, Resident Evil 9, that's pretty much all we know so far. And by no, I mean it's a rumor, but it's coming from a guy that seems to know what he's talking about when he leaks these rumors. He definitely knows someone who works at Capcom, because he seems to know things way beforehand, and then obviously it takes a long time for it to pop up and people start questioning whether he's telling the truth or not. But most of the time, he is. I mean, I've never seen anything that he said about Resident Evil to be untrue. So it's sounding at least like that we're looking at bigger areas for Resident Evil 9. Anyway, that's all I got. What do you guys reckon? Do you reckon Resident Evil 9 is going to be open world? Do you think it's a bad idea? Do you think we should just stick with linear design? Do you not even like what Resident Evil Village and Resident Evil 4 Remake did, where it's kind of hub areas? Let me know down below. If you're new here, subscribe. I really appreciate that. But yeah, that's all I got, people. I'll catch you later.